I'm wired, you know, that and being stubborn. You know, I was just like, I will not take no for an answer. Like, you're going to have to kill me to get me out of here. And it's just having a bulletproof mind and just being like, this is what I want to do. And I like, come hell or high water, I'm doing it. And
this is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
you know, so I actually ended up doing like construction for a while. I mean, that's what I did during the summers in high school anyway, was just work construction.
Well, construction is one of the most freeing environments in the world.
Totally. Yeah.
You get into, so I say this because that's what my field is now.
Yeah.
And here's the difference. I went from law enforcement where if I had an argument with a guy, I got an internal affairs investigation on me. Construction job, I have an argument with a guy. We're going to argue or we're going to fight, but then we got to get back to doing whatever we're doing.
Right.
So, and it's over.
Yeah.
And that taught me a huge lesson. I've been doing construction since I was 13.
Yeah.
Taught me a huge lesson about life. The key component to any law enforcement officer being the best version of themselves is through education. Sherry Alsop is a leader in providing that education to police agencies, preparing them for the all too frequent dealings with sexual assault victims.
You've seen Sherry on episode 169 of the Suffering Podcast. She survived incest and almost daily sexual assault, so she comes from a place of experience and true understanding.
Sherry has the intelligence, commitment, and compassion to open the eyes of those on the front lines, while providing the tools to effectively deal with a difficult situation. Sherry's instruction comes from experience and multiple certifications.
Training with Sherry will offer on-site training, customized schedules, specialized instruction tailored from a victim's perspective.
You are going to hear Sherry's heart-wrenching but inspiring survivor story. Learn proprietary trauma-informed training techniques. Uncovered victim-centered interview methods while earning continuing education credits according to your state guidelines. To be the best, you must learn from the best. Let Sherry also guide you through the delicate cases of sexual assault from a victim's point of view.
Be a source of comfort to those victims affected by these traumatic experiences while producing a solid investigation and uncovering details that often go unnoticed.
To find out more or to contact Sherry Alsop, go to sherryalsop.com. That's SherryAllsup.com. And it was kind of an adjustment when I went into police world.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, because you sometimes you get into it with somebody. And,
hey, you know what? Violence does solve problems, and I'm not saying go out there and just look for fights, but sometimes you just got to roll around in the dirt, and then afterwards you get back to work. I mean, that's just what it is.
Well, young men, and young men are not taught conflict resolution. And the construction site is how you learn conflict resolution in day one.
Oh yeah.
What happens if you got kids, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So what happens if your kids get into a fight in school? Both kids get suspended. And then like my son did it, and he had to come back and sign some bullshit contract. These kids are never going to talk to each other again. And I said, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to these kids? You're teaching them to avoid the problem.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, they're both kids that I coach. So I sat them down in a pizza parlor with the other parents' permission. And I said, you two go over in the corner there and you guys work it out. And guess what? They did.
Yeah.
They worked it out, and they're fine.
Right.
That's what they do.
Yeah. I've never heard of such a thing. Signing a contract that you're not going to talk to this person, or what?
My response to it was not very favorable. The vice principal had little man's disease, and he was tried to bully a little bit. And I said, you can take that contract, you can shove it right up. I said, son, cover your ears.
Yeah.
I said, you can take that contract, you can shove it right up your ass, because I'm not signing it. These kids play sports together. They're going to be around each other.
It's life, man.
Yeah. And so that's the problem. They don't prepare them for the real world. You go out in the real world, you're going to have conflict.
Yeah.
And it's how you resolve it. You can be an animal, but if you got to get that animal under control in the real world, otherwise there's big boy consequences to
for
it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when was the step into this naval warfare world?
So, like I said, I lost my vision in high school. And then when I saw my friends like moving into their fields and pushing forward with their degrees and things like that, I'm like, all right, well, what am I doing? And at the time, I was working at a video store because I'm a big movie buff, and I was like, hey, man, it's a chill job. I talk to people about movies. I watch movies all day. I'm putting movies away. It was like, I did pretty well as far as sales and upcharging people or whatever.
Like VHS tapes?
Or
and DVDs.
Well, I don't even know how old you are.
39.
You're 39. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, this was back in 2005, 2004, and they still had VHSs and but DVDs were hot back then. And I remember I was working there, and one of the guys that I worked with, he came in to put in his 2 weeks, and nice guy, pretty cool. And he comes in, and I'm like, well, "What's up, man? Like, what are you gonna do?" And he's like, "Well, I just enlisted in the Army." I'm like, "The Army, really?" Like, all right. He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, why wouldn't you, if you're gonna enlist, why don't you do something like the Marines? Something that's we know is like, those are badass dudes. Nothing against the Army because they're badass too, but that was my mentality at the time. It's like, hey, if you're gonna join, do the Marines." And he's like, "Hey, it's what I want to do." I'm like, right on. So I'll never forget. He leaves the video store and he walks right out in front of me. We had a big window, and I'm sitting there, putting DVDs back in the DVD cases, and this guy walks right by me, and the look on his face was so stoic and so proud. And I just remember thinking, like, who am I to be judging this dude for joining the Army when I'm not doing shit? And that's when it hit me. I was like, that's when I remembered, like, that's what I want to do is join the SEALs. I want to go be a SEAL. That's what I always wanted to do. And
and you're at a time we're involved in a war.
Yeah.
They want guys like you.
Yeah.
So so SEALs started to come to prominence, especially when the war popped off. Because when I was I'm 50. So when I went, nobody ever heard. You knew about Navy SEALs.
Right.
Maybe you watched the Charlie Sheen movie. And we all know that's probably not
documentary.
That's of course. That's exactly what it is. You guys get to go out and play golf, right?
Right.
With each other when you're off.
Yeah.
So you really didn't know about SEALs, or you kind of thought it was a little bit of, it's special forces, but it's not what it is today.
Well, that's why I wanted to be a SEAL, because when I was a kid, like back in the 90s, like, I watched all the war movies and things like that, and I watched Navy SEALs, but that wasn't even like the coolest war movie back then. But I just remember thinking, like what is a SEAL? Like you hear about the Marines and Iwo Jima and the Army and all this stuff that these other branches do, but like, what are the SEALs? Like, they're badass, but they're quiet about it.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am talking, but no, but back then it was like you didn't know anything about the SEALs, and I was like, they're just like ninjas, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. And even when it came back to me that, hey, I want to be a SEAL, I still didn't know much. I remember watching, like, I went home, and my old man actually, he showed me the documentary of the 234 video, and he was like, that's what you'll be doing.
So that was the first time I actually really understood about SEAL training.
Yeah.
Class 234.
Right.
And that was an amazing, and I'm looking at these guys, and with my mouth open going, oh my God, man. And it's a game.
Right.
Like I was a police officer at the time, and I know what the game is.
Right.
The game is to break you down as individuals, build you up as a team, to
Right.
try to break you mentally because of the hardships that you're going to have to endure. So I get that. I understand that. But they go to some serious extremes in order to get that done.
Suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what's it do? It builds machines. It builds bulletproof warriors. And like, how can you not be attracted to that?
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching that documentary and just being like, there's really not a whole lot of shooting going on here, but I mean, this is the beginning stages. This is how they build you, and this is how they create, but they don't even really create it. And one thing that stuck with me in the training early on is one of the instructors had said, like, this is first phase, getting our asses kicked, and he goes, Buds is not a place where we make SEALs. Like, we find them. So it's like, you either have it or you don't. And if you're here to find out if you've got it, like, you're probably going to quit. And so when I heard that, it just like reinforced like why I was there,
I'm a big fan of Mr. Paul, and I don't know if you,
Yeah.
So I dig that guy. He's a great storyteller. And when he talks about his SEAL experience, he makes it seem like, he goes, I had no choice. Like, and I think the one thing I grab from enough SEALs that I listen to, it's the choice that kills you. It's when you have no choice.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're made to do. It's your destiny.
Yeah.
And the people who have a choice are the ones, they got that plan B. They're able to just say, yeah, you know what, this ain't for me.
You can't have a plan B. And that was one thing that, like, everybody told me I should have. Like, what's your backup plan? What's your backup plan? I'm like, dude, there is no backup plan. Like, well, yeah, I know you want to be a SEAL. It's like, no, dude, you don't get it. Like, this is all there is.
It's hard to get the contract.
I struggled throughout my whole career, throughout my whole life. But I was able to squeak by on my ASVAB just enough to get the contract. And then I had to. Everybody's got to take a PST before you join, and then first day of training, SEAL training. And the PST is a physical screening test. So it's a 500-meter swim, minimum of 10 pull-ups, minimum of like 60 push-ups.
And these are not just regular half.
You're
yipping
full,
them up.
full extension.
Full extension pull-ups. Yeah, it's different.
So I think it's like 50 push-ups, 60 sit-ups, and then a mile and a half run in like 10:30, which are, I mean, it's to be honest, those are like weak numbers, and when you get to day one of SEAL training, like you have to blow those numbers out of the water. Like you need to be swimming like sub 9, you need to be doing like 15 pull-ups, minimum 100 push-ups, minimum 100 sit-ups, and then maybe like a 9:30 run.
So what makes you, John Collins, think that you can be one of these elite warriors, one of these Navy SEALs? Like is there an ego involved? Is it your hubris? Like what makes you think that you can be one of these guys?
I mean, that's just the way I'm wired, that and being stubborn. I was just like, I will not take no for an answer. Like, you're going to have to kill me to get me out of here. And it's just having a bulletproof mind and just being like, this is what I want to do. And like, come hell or high water, I'm doing it. And it worked.
That's I talked about that in the opening, which I read before you got here. And in the opening, I talk about when you are facing an opponent or an adversity, whether it's a person, place, or thing, and that whatever that is knows that you're not going to quit. Eventually, they're going to come at you enough times where they're just going to say, "All right, let him through. All right, let him through," because they know they have to kill you in order to make you quit.
Yeah.
And that never quit attitude I think it's just a special thing in human beings.
Yeah, man. I mean, and it can be learned too. Like some people who think that, oh, you're just born with it. It's like, no, because I've quit a lot of jobs. I've quit a lot of stuff in my life, but never, as soon as I signed my name on that paper saying that I was going to defend this country, it was like, there was never a thought about quitting after that.
So did you feel when you signed on that dotted line, John Collins is now in the United States Navy, did you feel that same pride that you saw that young man walking out of the video store have? Was it there yet?
I think it was, but it wasn't. It was, but now it was something else. Now there's it's like, okay, I'm joining, but I'm joining for a specific reason here. Like I don't know what that young man went on to do in the Army, but my hat's off to him. Like he joined and he served. But for me, it was like, I'm joining for a specific reason for a very small percentage of people make it through this training. And it's like, okay, I'm here, but I'm not just like, chilling.
You're not signing up to the Navy to go be a cook on a battleship.
Right. Which, hey, they serve us food and, let me get seconds of those mashed potatoes. But hey, what the SEAL teams is and what Bud's training is built for, it's like, it's not for everybody, and I knew that as soon as I signed that dotted line that this was like, it's on,
It's funny because you're a bit younger than me, and in this world of inclusivity where everybody wants to be included and inclusive in every walk of life, there are still people like you who want to be exclusive, who want to be the tip of that spear.
Well, I would say this, don't believe everything social media tells you, because social media makes you think that the minority voice and these everybody wants to be included voice is larger than this that we're talking about. Because, I mean, there are a lot more people than you think that want to get the full gambit of the training, of the whatever it is that they're signing up to do, they want the full experience. They want full benefit of the training. Because I mean, what are we talking about if you don't get that? Then you get some half-ass training, and then you end up with as a half-ass operator or whatever. You know?
See, I think I've always had that mindset where I want to see, whenever I traveled, and I traveled a lot before I was a cop, I would go visit the touristy things, wherever I was. I would visit, I would do my business and go visit the touristy things. But one of the things I always wanted to get the authentic experience of going into just a town and seeing what life is like in that town. Like, I want that experience.
Totally.
That's what I sign up for.
What are the locals doing?
What are the locals doing? Where they go? What do they do? How do they talk? What do they do for fun around here?
Right.
Just that whole experience, because I don't want that inclusive experience. I want the exclusive experience.
Yeah.
And I did try to join the military. Unfortunately, college football left me with too many knee surgeries. So the Marines, and I was like you. I was like, well, if I'm going to join, I'm going to join.
Yeah.
I'm going to join the good ones,
Yeah.
the Marines. I never had any illusions that I was the tip of the spear Navy SEAL type of person, but I know the Marines were the tough ones.
Up there.
And they rejected me. And once they rejected me, I was like, well, I'm not joining any other one. But again, like you, it's like, who the hell am I? I can't even get into where I want to get in.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
my hat's off to those guys who do serve. My hat's off to those guys who do serve food and do their duty, do their due diligence.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it.
Look, you're serving your country, man, and as long as you are doing your part and you're not, calling it in, I salute you.
Yeah, well, every mechanism in the world has many different cogs that makes that machine run.
Amen.
Yeah. So you sign your contract, and now you got that holy shit moment that, like, this stuff is real. Was there ever a minute like, what the hell did I do?
No.
Really? That's awesome. Dude.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
I mean, I've always, since I was young, like I said, in my early, high school days, like I was always kind of on my own, and I always seek adventure, I was always about, like, where are we going? Like, let's just go see where the night takes us. Let's see where this road takes us. Let's go.
Are you an adrenaline junkie?
Yeah, not so much anymore. I mean,
when you were younger.
Yeah. I mean, I like the rush. Being in the Navy and just going to buds was, I mean, it was an adventure. And it's like, and that was something that I learned later on while I was still in training, thankfully, is like, this is what I'm here for. It's not to get the trident. It's like the journey to get the trident. It's like,
it's not the marathon finish line. It's
No.
the training. It's the 18 weeks of training you go through.
Yeah, because I mean, look, there's always another horizon. There's always another peak. It's like once you get to the top of the mountain, it's like, okay, what's next? They always ask. Did you watch that documentary, The Last Dance with Michael Jordan?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
I watched it twice. It's so good. And as soon as he wins his, I forget whatever championship it was, like, what's next? And he's like, let's just live in the moment. Enjoy it right now.
Well, so there's a great book. God, it's the name of the guy is escaping me. He trained Michael Jordan. So he only trained 3 people, right? And you'll understand how good he is. He trained Michael Jordan, he trained Kobe Bryant, and Dwayne Wade.
Oh yeah.
And he talks about Tim. Oh God, it's escaped me. But he talks about what separates those people. Yeah, they had talent. Like
Right.
you had the athletic talent. It was their drive. It was their work ethic. It was, I'm going to be this best of the best no matter what. And that's what made them. Everybody thinks Michael Jordan just showed up and, did all this amazing stuff. Everybody thinks Kobe Bryant did all this amazing stuff. It's what they did when the cameras weren't on and,
Right.
the game wasn't being played, which made them who they were.
100%.
And I have it in my phone. I'll get that. That's a great book to listen to when you're on a plane, especially. So you show up the first. Well, you do. There's a whole pre-thing with SEALs, which I know about. You train to go to buds.
Yeah. So
You train to go train. That's insane.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But I mean, for me, that was the cool part. It's like I'm working out and I'm lifting weights and I'm doing sprints and I'm swimming and I'm doing all the stuff that I love to do anyway, just to go do it, now for time or at, till exhaustion and all that. But I mean, training to me, it was always like, it sucks, but it's still fun. You know, it's like, I would rather be doing this than sitting at a desk on a computer, you know, like,
Which I think is a slow death.
it's slow death. And that's kind of where I saw my life heading if I didn't figure out, you know, if I didn't remember what I was put here to do.
Well, nothing's better than putting your head on the pillow at the end of a hard day, knowing that you put 100% in there.
Oh, yeah.
And you fall asleep so fast and
Oh,
you
yeah.
sleep so soundly. And there are days when I have that, and there are days when I don't, when I left a little bit on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling to go
No,
to sleep to.
I don't have trouble sleeping. Even when I do leave a little bit on the field, I mean, I've never had trouble sleeping. But I'm always going, you know.
So you show up, you do all this pre-training, you do pretty well in it, I'm assuming. The Suffering Podcast welcomes our newest sponsor, Keto Revive. Ketamine infusions that are personalized, accessible, and holistic. Proven treatments for post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety, chronic pain, neuropathic pain, and so much more. Keto Revive is physician-operated with customized treatments tailored to you and an outstanding support system. Keto Revive offers first responder special discounts. So try something new, proven treatments, located in Wyckoff, New Jersey. To find out more, visit Keto Revive at ketorevive.com. Let's start healing today.